Welcome, welcome to Bitcoin Crypto News Online. I am your host, Shane. Today, we are going to talk about potential ways to accumulate a lot of wealth with Bitcoin and never have to sell it. So, how can this be done? We're going to get right into it. Right now, this is being recorded on the 15th in the evening. Bitcoin is at $99,802. No doubt by Friday, when I am out of town and you are watching this, Bitcoin will be well on its way to 100K. Obviously, we all have very high hopes for Bitcoin achieving a large amount of money. In order to find out how we are going to really profit off of Bitcoin overall, I would like to take a look at the market. Now, if we look at the US dollar index against gold, gold is in the yellow, the dollar is in the blue. So sometimes gold is quite a bit higher than the dollar, but then it goes back and the dollar becomes stronger. And this is for whatever reason, manipulation, more gold, bad things happening in the economy, driving up the price of gold, the fear of the dollar. But you can see it just goes up and down, up and down. This is since 2000 to right now. Right now, gold is kind of high, dollar not having as much strength against gold. But it wasn't long ago, back here in was that about 2022, the end of 2022, in December, it was the opposite. The dollar was stronger all the way through this several month period, about a 6 month period here. And then gold was superior again. So there's this up and down dance between gold and the US dollar. So other things that we can look at is the Bitcoin price history. I want to look at that because you go all the way back to the beginning, 2009, around that time, 2010. I believe this one started at the end of 2009. Bitcoin stayed very low. We're under a dollar here up until about 2011. Looks like that's when it went a dollar and then $10. Now, think back to 2011 or 2010. At this time, Bitcoin was less than a dollar when I bought it, and you could buy several Bitcoins for a dollar. Now, let's say you bought, 4 Bitcoins for a dollar, whatever you paid, 4 or 5. Right now, that would be worth 400 to 500,000. Now, back at that time, would that amount of Bitcoin have bought you a house? No. A dollar's worth of Bitcoin you'd had in 2012, you couldn't even buy a candy bar, right? I think candy bars were over a dollar then. So you couldn't buy much. Again, this is just going forward 14 years. And now we are at $99,000. This is showing the chart up to $97,000, $98,000. So, if you had 4 Bitcoin now, 4 or 5 Bitcoin, a dollar's worth, you would have, half a million dollars. You'd have $500,000. So the amount of interest gained on your Bitcoin is much higher. Now, some people are like, hey, you know what? You got to stay in the stock market. But the stock market, you can see here by this chart here, backtest, curve.eu backtest. You can see here, the stock market is down here in the red. It's just flat, right? It isn't even measurable against the gains of Bitcoin. And yes, it was slow. We hit a hump here at the end of 2013 into 2014, but over here in 2016, right about the time I got in, 2017, it really started to decouple. and go from, a few $100s on up to reach new milestones until we see what we see now. So quite a gain, quite a serious gain. Bitcoin has remained annual growth rate at about 109% compared to the S&P over the same period of 17.87. That's S&P 500. You can see here year by year that Bitcoin beats the S&P 500 by a lot. And when the S&P drops, Bitcoin does drop too, and it does drop more. But overall, when you average it all out, you have 50 to 60% average per year. Some years are extremely high. Like look at 2017, where we have a 1,162% increase. What did the S&P do that year? 7.08%. Even a stellar year for the stock market would be like 26%, 34%, 39%. But you have Bitcoin doing double to 3 times more on average on those good years. Okay? And it just more than makes up for it. Look at this stellar increase, 2013, 5,189% increase for Bitcoin. Now, the thing I want to really impress upon you, so we've talked about the buying power of Bitcoin. We've compared the US dollar to gold. They're really about the same. Gold gives you a little more security in hard times when the dollar's down, but they're not really, one is not decoupling from the other so much, okay? And then I want to look at the interest rates. Now, our government is telling us right now the CPI is, I think they said 3 point something percent right now. Now, that's their numbers. I don't know about you, but my numbers are different. My cost of living's gone up probably 12 to 15% on the things that I buy and need. So that would be food, energy, fuel, gas, electricity, heating, things like that. And also insurance has gone up. A lot of people are losing their insurances. They cannot pay enough. I've heard people from all over, especially on the West Coast here, insurance is getting just ridiculous, and it has been for a long time. So this here chart, shadowstats.com, they're showing you kind of based on what people like me and you and the average working person, how the cost is affecting us. Yes, some goods are better priced, maybe computer items, maybe, plastic items and, those type of things that you can get at Walmart. Clothing is probably not gone up too bad, for cheaper clothing. But the real cost of goods and services that we need, you can see here, this chart here. What? My cat, sorry. Gosh, just knocked over something. I don't even know what it was. Anyway, the real cost, we've got here 6%, 4% is kind of the low, over 8% here in 2008. That's when the white paper came out in 2009. Look at this dip here, little dip, but still much higher. We're averaging 6.5, 7, all the way up over 10% the last few years, where we've seen this huge cost in the cost of our items. Now, is it that the items cost more? Not really. They cost the same. It's the dollar is buying so much less. So there's even another alternative here, graph that they use, the year-to-year growth, 83 to 2023. You've got an average here of over 5% every year, all the way up over 15%. So honestly, when you really take the true cost of what people are paying, it is about what the stock market earns. Okay, there's your bad news. So if we go back to the stock market, um, that's gold. Let's see, price history. Where is my stock market? I had a stock market. S&P, here it is. So your stock market is typically earning, 8 to 10%, they say. And we've done pretty good this year. In fact, go down here, you can see all the years. So if you take 10 to 15% and average it against the stock market since 2008, you're going to see that you're really just about even. You're maybe a little better than even since 2012, but you go back to 2008 when we had the really down market cycles, you're going to see that you've lost quite a bit more than that. So even given these best numbers that we've had the last since 2012, we're still only making a few percent. So if you buy stocks or treasuries or put your money in the bank, even if you're earning 4 or 5%, you're really not earning anything. You're really not earning a thing. So Bitcoin is the best investment. It really is when you look at it. Now, of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. These are my own thoughts based on these charts, past performance, looking at the US dollar, looking at the stock market, looking at gold. This is why so many people are looking at Bitcoin. By the way, this is why you have the mainstream news lately, the last week or so, talking badly about Bitcoin. You got many talking heads out there, like our SCE chairman, still talking smack about Bitcoin. We've got Jamie Dimon talking smack about Bitcoin. So they know that it's going to go up. The media is like always super negative. If it drops, man, they'll all tell you about it's dropping and sentiment is bad, because those people and their friends are looking to buy in right now. They are buying in. If you look, and I do this in the news, when I give the daily news, I show you from time to time how quickly the Bitcoin is coming off the market and who's buying it all up. And it's not just Michael Saylor. All right, so what could you do to live off your Bitcoin? Now, again, not financial advice, but let's say you never took a loan, you only bought Bitcoin, and you borrowed against your Bitcoin. Now, I will talk a little bit about this. I'm not recommending any company. None of these have sponsored me. I have not used any of these, but I will tell you one that I'm investigating, okay? And like I said, no sponsors, no nothing. This is just you and me looking up the information, talking shop, all right? So how to borrow against Bitcoin safely and profitably, according to bitdegree.org. Again, these are their words, not mine, but I agree with some of this. According to Aaron S., who did a fact check about this, supposedly, but some companies like Binance, KuCoin, OKX, and HTX offer flexible loan ways to loan and borrow against your Bitcoin. Now, what I would say is, I would only do a loan if it was you don't lose possession of your Bitcoin. You want to keep your Bitcoin. You don't want to do like the Celsius or any of those things, because they can guarantee you they have the money and then they don't. So if you hold it yourself in a 3-party wallet, it would be one party would be the lender, one party would be you, and the other would be a third party arbitrator that would be like an escrow company, ensuring that everybody lives up to their part of the loan. You would live up to um, letting them have that access to that one part of the wallet. It takes two of them to get the money to move, and you would pay them their loan amount and the interest that they asked for. They would take and give you the loan and leverage it against your Bitcoin, and they would ensure that they would acknowledge receipt of the payments as the balance goes down in a timely way according to the terms of the loan. And then when it's all completed, you have full access to your Bitcoin again. Or you might choose to refinance because Bitcoin has already gone up 100, 200%. And now you just take another loan out for about the same amount and then pay off the rest of the loan. And there you go again. So that's one way to do it. Now, I don't know what all their terms are. I'm going to talk about a company that I have done a little bit of research on, but this is some of the benefits. We're not going to go over every single thing. I want you to take the time to look at this and read it yourself, but you can borrow against Bitcoin. It's that three-party wallet. Typically, they'll want to keep at least 60% of your, you can borrow 40% against whatever you have. So if you have $100,000 in Bitcoin, you can take a $40,000 loan. Typically, the interest rates are reasonable because they have it secured with your Bitcoin. If Bitcoin were to drop down below the cost or to the cost of the loan, you would either have to pay more money to or throw more Bitcoin in there or something, or pay more money in there, or they could liquidate your Bitcoin, okay? Because they don't want the Bitcoin to drop down below the amount of the loan, or they're going to lose money. So they can't lose money. They have to, that's what secures it, is your Bitcoin. But you could go 20%. It's very, very unlikely that Bitcoin would drop down 80%. So that could be a very safe way to do it if you wanted to do it that way. If you have more confidence in Bitcoin, I would say, what part of the market is it? Like right now, I couldn't see Bitcoin, and this is just not financial advice, just my speculation. I couldn't see Bitcoin going down any lower than $70,000, but stranger things have happened. Usually we don't see it retrace too much. I know when it was $12,000, or we had seen, I think it was $12,000 Bitcoin back in, maybe it went up to 18 even. We saw it drop all the way down to $3,500 for a short time. So when you borrow, it might be the timing and the percentage that you borrow might be something to consider. So you could reinvest that money into cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin. Again, not investing advice. And you could get tax benefits if you sell your Bitcoin. Not tax advice, but you're going to pay a capital gains here in the USA. The state may be harsh and charge you capital gains as well, where when you get a loan, typically you avoid most of those taxes and minimize it, and can actually even write off some of the interest depending on what you're buying and depending on your laws. You have to check with your CPA. Now, you can even do this in a Roth IRA. If you have a self-directed Roth IRA, you would be able to invest in that Bitcoin, and then when it comes time to retire, you could borrow against that potentially and fund your retirement and have Bitcoin for your heirs when you're gone, so that they would be able to inherit that Bitcoin, and it could potentially live long after you're gone, supplying wealth and benefit to your families. So you deposit the Bitcoin, you get a loan, then you know what the leverage is. We talked about some scenarios. You would get some liquidity for your Bitcoin without selling it, and you could use that to live on if you want at that time of retirement, or you could live on some of it and use some of it to reinvest. Many different choices of what you could do. But be careful. There are risks with this type of leverage, but you know, it is an opportunity to use your Bitcoin without selling it and borrowing money against it. It gives you a lot of flexibility. They give you some suggestions here how to do it safely. Again, that's your loan to value ratio. So the higher you leverage it, the more at risk you would be. The lower you leverage it, the more security you would have to be able to just continue paying the loan back or and not getting liquidated. So they tell you here some ways that you can maximize, borrow only what you can afford to repay. Some people will take and borrow the Bitcoin more than they need and keep some back to be able to make the payments, presumably that they could refinance later on and be able to pull even more out of their Bitcoin, paying off that loan and having that. Now you can use these loans to pay off interest for things that you have now. If you have a high interest rate credit card, you might want to borrow some money against your Bitcoin, pay off the credit card, and now all that interest that Bitcoin is making year after year, not on those third years, but over the 4-year period of the cycle, could benefit you quite a bit. If you go to coinledger.io, you can see the best companies that are suggested here for getting a loan against your Bitcoin. Aave, Alchemist, Arc Lending, that's one that we've heard of. Binance, Compound, Unchained is another one that's very well known. Wirex and uHodler are all different companies that you could borrow against. Aave is one of the most popular decentralized finance protocols, they say here, built on Ethereum blockchain. Alchemix is a unique self-repaying loan, they say, so that's something you could look into. Arc Lending, this is a pretty well-known company that secures crypto holdings with anchorage, and customer collateral remains in storage until the end of the loan. Binance, we're all familiar with Binance. Compound, this is a coin, but there is a Ethereum-based DeFi protocol that allows users to borrow assets and get that money. Crypto.com is a platform that offers lending and borrowing services to users. I don't know anything about that at all. Summerfi and Unchained. Here's the one that I have looked into. Unchained is a centralized finance service provider that offers loans on Bitcoin for businesses. While APRs are relatively high, minimum loans are relatively high. Unchained is a great option for crypto commercial loans. So even though the interest rates might be high, if you're using it for commercial purposes and you intend on making money off of that money, you can pay it back in that way if you have projected that. Some businesses, such as MicroStrategy, utilize that. They're bigger companies with shareholders, so that enables them to borrow in different sorts of ways. But there's all sorts of possibilities where you could get these Bitcoin loans. So just to kind of show you how Unchained Capital works here, I didn't know it was just for businesses until today. I thought it was for everybody, but they call it rehypothecation, and that is your collateral. You have 3 Bitcoin keys among 3 key holders. That ensures no single person or company can move your company's Bitcoin, protects your Bitcoin treasury from loss, and lets you monitor the Bitcoin on the blockchain for the duration of the loan. Single collateral management. Bitcoin is volatile, but your Bitcoin loan doesn't need to be. The loan dashboard gives you a health status for your loan so you can easily manage collateral when Bitcoin price moves quickly. And this could be, opportunity to just pay off your loan. Like Bitcoin went way, way, way up, and you say, you know what, I'm just going to pay it off because it only cost me a fraction of the Bitcoin that I have to pay off this loan that cost me a much bigger fraction. Get dollar liquidity quickly from your Bitcoin. So this can happen in as little as 2 business days. They've done institutional loans of 3 million and above. So yeah, this is kind of how it works in ways of getting the money. This obviously is for businesses. The interest rates are a bit high, But you know what? When you look at Bitcoin earning 50 to 60% per year, you're earning, because you're keeping your Bitcoin, you're actually still earning over 40% on your cryptocurrency on a 4-year cycle. There is that one out of 4 bad years that we have in our 4-year cycles. But let's say you had one of those years, that this year was one of those years where we get 1,000 to 5,000% increase in Bitcoin. That's not typical, but I would say, what if it's 100 to 200% increase? That could be very substantial, and your Bitcoin has doubled, and maybe you decide, you know what, I used that money to buy a miner and crypto miner, and I'm earning I'm earning this money. I'll just go ahead and pay that off so I don't have that overhead while Bitcoin's high. So this is very flexible, very flexible. The minimum here for this business loan seems to be $150,000. So might not be for everybody, but there are other lenders and other programs and other plans that you can look at to get the wealth out of your Bitcoin. So if you have this kind of mindset that Bitcoin is the asset to have, it is going to go up, up, and away. If you believe that, if you've looked at the charts and you say, yes, that is the path. If you look at all the good news, we're always talking about countries, companies, states, counties, all sorts of corporations and businesses, nations all over the world adopting Bitcoin. It is going to go up, up, and away. This year, maybe even next year, we stand to see some huge, huge gains. So think about these things. See if that's something you want to do. This could be a spring point for checking out if this is a direction you want to go. And I hope that I've helped you think about Bitcoin in a different way, the value of it, and really just think about the money that you have right now. I'm not saying put all your money in Bitcoin or pull it all out of the stock market or don't invest in gold. I'm not saying any of those things. I don't give investing advice. But if you're interested in Bitcoin as a way of preserving your wealth and staying above the loss of the fiat dollar, then you should want to accumulate at least a little bit at a time. And that's about all I have for you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. I will send this video out Friday. Hopefully it turned out pretty good and you got some good information and you enjoyed it thoroughly. It looks like it did turn out pretty good. So please like and subscribe, and we will talk to you on Monday, God willing.